ever hear a man say it quietly, almost like he's confessing something he's not allowed to feel? I did everything I was supposed to do, and I still lost my family. He doesn't say it for sympathy. He says it because he genuinely can't reconcile the math. He provided, he protected, he stayed loyal, he worked overtime, he paid the bills, he kept the lights on, he handled pressure, he carried responsibility like a man. And yet, the house is empty now. The marriage is over. The kids are distant. The holidays feel different, and nobody talks about what that does to a man. Here's something most people won't tell you. There is a specific kind of grief that hits a good provider when he loses his family. Not just the grief of losing people, but the grief of losing identity. Because for a lot of men, being needed wasn't just a role, it was their purpose. And it's not what you'd expect. It's not always loud, it's not always tears. It's quieter than that. It shows up as numbness, restlessness, shame. A hollow feeling on Sunday afternoons, a man who looks fine at work but feels like a ghost in his own life. In the next few minutes, I'm going to walk you through 4 parts of this unspoken grief, why it's so confusing, why it's so heavy, and what actually helps you rebuild after it. Not woman bashing, not man up nonsense, just real patterns I've seen in good men who carried families for decades and then suddenly found themselves alone. Some of this might sting, some of it might feel like relief. Either way, by the end, you'll understand your own experience better and you'll have a path forward. Before we go further, let me ask you something simple. If you were the provider type, the steady one, and losing your family felt like losing your purpose, comment yes. If you can't relate, comment no. I read every comment, and it helps me shape what we cover next. And if you're finding value in this, like the video and subscribe. It helps more men find these conversations. Let's get into it. First, you grieve the loss of your role before you even grieve the people. This is the part most men don't expect. You think you're grieving your wife, your kids, your home, and you are. But beneath that is something deeper. You're grieving the role that gave your life structure. For years, you woke up with a mission, bills to pay, people to protect, a house to maintain, a schedule built around responsibility. Even if it was stressful, it was clear. You knew what you were for. Then suddenly, you're still waking up early, but there's no one to do it for. You still have that provider energy, but there's no one relying on it the same way. And that creates a unique emptiness. Psychologists talk about role identity. When a major life role collapses, husband, full-time father, head of household, the brain experiences it like an identity injury, not just sadness, disorientation. You don't just miss people, you miss the version of yourself that existed when you were needed. That's why some men don't cry after divorce. They go numb, they get restless, they start working more, drinking more, dating too fast, because stillness forces you to feel that the role is gone. And men aren't taught to grieve roles, we're taught to replace them. Second, the world minimizes your loss because you should be fine. This one is brutal, and it's why this grief stays unspoken. When a woman loses her family life, people check on her. They validate her, they rally around her. When a man loses his family life, especially if he's the provider, people often assume he'll be fine because he has resources. You hear things like, "You'll bounce back. At least you're financially stable. Just focus on yourself. Plenty of fish in the sea." But none of those statements touch the real wound, because you're not just dealing with loneliness, you're dealing with the feeling that your best effort didn't matter, that your loyalty didn't protect you, that the thing you sacrificed for is still left. And there's a shame layer too. A lot of men feel embarrassed to say, "I'm not okay," because a provider is supposed to be solid. He's supposed to handle it. He's supposed to keep moving. So you keep moving, and the grief stays trapped in the body. It comes out as sleep problems, weight gain, short temper, anxiety, a man who can't relax, a man who feels behind in life even when he's accomplished. And because it's unspoken, it becomes isolating. You're hurting, but you feel like you don't have permission to admit it. Third, you replay the investment like a loss in the stock market. This is where a lot of men get stuck mentally. A good provider often thinks in terms of sacrifice and return. If I do my job, the family stays intact. That's the agreement he believed in. So when the family breaks, his mind starts auditing the past. I paid for everything. I worked for us. I stayed faithful. I didn't abandon them. How did I lose? And that question, how did I lose, is where bitterness can grow. Because the pain isn't just that it ended, it's that it feels unjust. Now, I want to be careful here. Sometimes a man genuinely made mistakes. Sometimes emotional absence was real. Sometimes conflict avoidance played a role. Sometimes there were patterns that needed to change. That's part of growth. But even when a man contributed to the decline, it doesn't erase this truth. Many good providers gave their prime years to their family with sincere intent. They tried, they carried, they showed up in the only language they were taught, responsibility. And losing that can feel like your life's work. This is why some men spiral into either rage or self-blame. They bounce between "she ruined my life" and "I ruined my life." Both extremes keep you stuck. The healthier question is different. What do I build now? Because that's the question that returns power to you. Fourth, you grieve the future you were counting on, and that's the deepest grief. This is where it all comes together. The hardest part for many men after losing their family isn't the past, it's the future. It's the picture you held in your mind, growing old with one woman, being a daily presence in your kids' lives, holidays that felt familiar, a legacy that felt intact. When that picture breaks, you don't just lose a relationship, you lose a timeline, you lose certainty, you lose the emotional payoff you thought you earned. And that's why men over 50 can feel a specific kind of panic, not because they can't find love again, but because time feels more real now. You don't want to waste years. You don't want to start over from chaos. You don't want to rebuild from scratch. So you're grieving the future you were promised and the future you promised yourself. Still with me? Comment 1 if this is making sense. Now, I want to be clear about something. This isn't about demonizing women or pretending every provider is a saint. That's not reality. This is about validating a real psychological experience many men have and giving you a path through it. So, what actually helps? Here's the rebuild framework I recommend for the good provider who lost his family. Name it, stabilize, reconnect, and rebuild purpose. Step 1. Name the grief accurately. Stop calling it stress or frustration. Say the truth. I'm grieving. Not just people, identity, structure, future. Naming it reduces shame because shame thrives in vagueness. Step 2. Stabilize your body before you try to stabilize your emotions. After 50, your body is not optional. Sleep, training, nutrition, sunlight, routine. Grief plus poor sleep creates a mental fog that makes everything feel hopeless. Step 3. Reconnect with men who understand. Most men don't need more advice, they need brotherhood. A men's group, a coach, a trusted friend, a community where you can say, "I'm not okay," without being judged, because isolation turns grief into identity. Step 4. Rebuild purpose that isn't dependent on being needed. This is the hard one, but it's the freedom. Your purpose can include providing, but it cannot be limited to providing for people who can leave. Build a mission that stays with you: health, craft, service, mentorship, faith, business, community, discipline. When your purpose is bigger than your family role, you stop feeling like your life ended when the role ended. Let me bring this together. If you were a good provider and you lost your family, your grief is real, your confusion is real, your emptiness is real, and it doesn't mean you failed as a man. It means you loved in the language you were taught, and now you're being forced to learn a deeper language, identity that doesn't collapse when a chapter ends. You can rebuild, not into bitterness, not into numbness, into strength with wisdom. What part has been hardest for you? Loneliness, shame, missing the kids, or feeling like your purpose disappeared? Drop it in the comments. Thanks for spending these minutes with me. If this resonated, like and subscribe. Real talk, no hype, just truth. I'll see you in the next one.